If you all are ready, we'll get started. Anyway, thanks for joining us at the Gold Star on this beautiful morning. I'm looking forward to coming back here in 2 weeks on Memorial Day. As a veteran, I get a free breakfast, so we always look forward to that. It's certainly it's a highlight, and Van and Bonnie do a great job broadcasting out here from I think 5 to 9 on Memorial Day, and they've been doing it for many years. I'm pleased this morning to be joined by Tim Orr, who is our Adjutant General of the Iowa National Guard, and Bob Holloway, who's chair of the Gold Star Museum. They have joined Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds and I for the press conference this morning. 14, I had the on-based Iowa legislation here. I'm proud to say I did that on Memorial Day in my Army uniform in this very room. But you know, the neat thing about it is this room has changed a lot even since 2014. A lot of new displays that are now available. So we want more people to come and see the Gold Star Museum. We're proud of the Home Base Iowa program that was established by that legislation to encourage the state, to encourage businesses to hire more veterans. And I'm proud to say it's off to a great start. We're getting a lot of communities and businesses that have become home-based businesses or home-based communities. And we've now have documentation that more than 2,050 veterans have been hired since that program started. And it's just really getting off the ground. So we see a lot more happening in the years ahead. Today, we're here to highlight a new exhibit at this museum that also highlights some of the events, and you'll be hearing that from some of the other speakers, happening not only on Memorial Day, but other events that are occurring here. And we are just so proud and honor the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our great country. That's what Memorial Day is all about. As an Army veteran, to be here on Memorial Day and to remember the freedoms that we cherish, and remember that those aren't free. They were paid for the history of this great nation by the sacrifice of many veterans in many conflicts. It is this sacrifice of our armed forces that they have borne over the course of our history that has enabled us to remain a free and self-governing people. The self-governance carries with us an obligation to honor those that have made the ultimate sacrifice and have accepted the call of duty to defend all that we have. This Memorial Day, as I routinely do here at the National Guard's Showcase Museum, to have Breck gonna do some book signings of my biography that's come out recently. For those that might be interested in purchasing that, which go to the Iowa History Project to help with history projects around the state, many of which are, in fact, the first one that we're doing, of course, is to help with the restoration of one of Iowa's Civil War veterans, who then served as governor of Iowa, Governor Merrill. So there are many veterans that I'm sure will attend from all around the state, and we encourage others to come and show an appreciation. So I will be, of course, joining Van and Bonnie on WHO Radio that morning, and they do a great job of promoting this special Veterans Day event. The public is also able to come. It is totally free. It's an opportunity to see the improvements and the updates here, as well as enjoy a free breakfast for veterans. So we very much appreciate what the museum does and how it continues to get better. In just a minute, General Orr, and about the events the National Guard is sponsoring, and from the board chair of the museum, Bob Holliday. But first, I want to turn it over to Lieutenant to tell you about some of the exciting things that she's been doing and more about this upcoming Memorial Day. Kim?
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And I, too, want to thank the Gold Star Museum and the National Guard for having us out this morning. In a couple of weeks, we'll all be celebrating Memorial Day, a day to remember the men and women who have lost their lives for our country and to protect the freedoms that we all have the opportunity to enjoy and share. For that, a simple thank you doesn't really seem enough. We all must pause and remember the soldiers who have lost their lives as well as their families. You know, just a week ago, I had the opportunity and the honor to witness firsthand Iowans answering the call, their selfless service, and their love for country. I was very honored to be part of the community send-off ceremony for the 185th Combat Sustainment Support Battalion of the Army National Guard for their one-year deployment. And I can't even begin to tell you how inspiring and emotional it was as I watched 60 soldiers, one last embrace, one last goodbye, and a parting prayer before boarding the plane. This very poignant reminder of the sacrifices made from those who serve as well as their families. That day, we honored the duty of our citizens to willingly go overseas to defend America's interest and security. And then just yesterday, again, I was honored to be in Albia, Iowa, with about 2,000 other Iowans to really stand up in support of the Welcome Home Soldier Monument. Jim Keller is the founder of the Welcome Home Soldier Monument, and it is a way for us to continue to tell the story of the brave men and women who have served to really lay that foundation for generations to come. So I was honored to be there and be a part of just saying thank you to the men and women who serve and to really help that community keep that memorial open, vibrant. But this Memorial Day is a time also to reflect on those who have lost their lives in the conflicts that America has been involved in. Originally founded as a day to decorate the graves of soldiers who died in the Civil War, Memorial Day has become a symbol for Americans to honor the fallen in each and in their own way. Personally, I'll be at the Iowa Veterans Cemetery for the 8 a.m. Memorial Day service, and there's also an 11 a.m. service as well at the Iowa Events Center. Colonel King will be presiding off of those events and will be with us in the morning. So if you'd like more information on the total list of events to remember and honor those who have served, please visit va.iowa.gov, va.iowa.gov. And now I'd like to invite General Orr to the podium to tell you more about the events the National Guard will be hosting. General Orr.
Thanks. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here on behalf of all the men and women of not only the Iowa National Guard, but our servicemen and women from Iowa. Memorial Day is to honor those who have given their lives in service to this country. It was in May of 1860, Decoration Day, and at this time it was specifically created to honor those service members who gave their lives on both sides of the Civil War. In 1971, Congress declared Memorial Day a national holiday to honor all who gave their lives in service to the United States. 24 Iowa National Guard soldiers and airmen have made the ultimate sacrifice since 9/11 while serving our nation. Nearly 18,000 Iowa National Guard soldiers and airmen have served on active duty in support of overseas security and contingency operations. And approximately 100 are currently serving. Iowa National Guard soldiers and airmen are serving on active duty somewhere around the world, and we anticipate that we'll see more mobilizations in 2016 and 2017 in support of the war. National Guard soldiers and airmen have given their lives for our nation and state since the creation in 1839 as the Iowa Territory, including and also while responding here at home in times of need over the last 178 years. On Memorial Day, May 30th, soldiers and airmen of the Iowa National Guard will speak at more than 30 events all across the community and across the state of Iowa. Besides the organized Memorial Day observations that the governor and lieutenant governor talked about in our communities here in Des Moines area, across Iowa, there's also a lot of private events that will be occurring, and they're being created and offered by families and friends of Iowans who have died while serving our nation. Memorial Day, this weekend, the Iowa National Guard will hold its annual Memorial Day Command Retreat on May 26th, where we'll recognize outstanding soldiers, airmen, and civilians, and we'll execute what we call the time-honored military ceremony of retiring the colors and symbolically marking the end of the duty day. Also on Thursday, May 26th at 7:00 p.m., we will hold our first concert of the summer concert series on Camp Dodge, which will feature the Nadas, Jason Walschmidt, and friends for the first of the summer's 5 concerts on Thursdays evenings. Concerts are free and they're open to the public, so bring your picnic baskets, your coolers, your lawn chairs, and join us for a great evening. This is the 6th consecutive year for this concert series, and we always look forward for having you join us as possible on Thursdays through the end of June. You can find more information about the summer concert series at iowanationalguard.com or on our Facebook page. Please now, I'd like to ask Bob Holliday, the board chair for the Iowa Gold Star Military Museum, to join me at the podium. Bob, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Morning. Governor Branstad, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, General Orr, Colonel King. Welcome to all of you to the Iowa Gold Star Military Museum. It is my pleasure to serve as the board chair of this facility. This is a museum that can be done very quickly. It started with a mandate from the Iowa legislature in 1986. It was located in the basement of the base chapel, very small room. What you see today is to the, and what it's, since you need to, for a minute, all of you in this room and everybody outside this facility, border to border and coast to coast in this country, we live in the freest country in the history of the world. You can go and you can get in your car, you can drive to anywhere in this country without showing papers. You can stay in the finest of hotels. I don't care what people say. We've got a great school system. Our health care is any place else in the world. I also want to tell you that this museum, and no one likes war. There's nothing glamorous or cool about a war, but it has been a major historical event of the people that have served in our military have protected these freedoms and our very way of life. They've done it since the inception and birth of our country. They do it today. The mission of this museum is to honor and recognize any Iowan who's ever worn a uniform. There's no distinction made between branch of service, rank. We don't care if you're a 2-star general or a brand new buck private one. We want to recognize and honor you. Now, with that said, the other mission of this museum is to preserve and tell the story of the Iowa National Guard. All of you to know that this entire state can be very, very proud of. It's got a justifiable, very proud military history. The 34th Infantry Division, which is the Iowa National Guard, had more continual days in combat in Europe than any other unit in the United States Army. Very few people in our, it's got a great history, folks, and we should be very proud of it. I'll tell you very quickly about our new World War I exhibit sitting right over here. We just had a ribbon cutting on that probably a month ago. We're now going to start in on the Korean War exhibit, World War II exhibit. I'll give anybody a tour of that new exhibit if you'd like to have one. Memorial Day. 7th year in a row that Van and Bonnie from WHO have done their broadcast here. I'm fortunate to 30 in the morning. But I want you all to know that at 5 o'clock when these doors open, there are people standing in line to get in, some of whom have little kids. Now, let me tell you what, that impresses me. These parents know how important missions are. Come on, you're going to learn something about our history. That's a Or it was indeed First Call Decoration Day. Aside to remember those who have given their very lives to protect our freedoms. You have to know that. You have to stop and think what these people gave up so we can live the way we do today. They gave up their homes, their futures, everything you can imagine. We honor and recognize these people. Confuse that with Veterans Day, which is also a very, very important day in this country. Set aside honor veterans as well as those who serve our military. Thank you all.
Okay. At this point, we'd open it to your questions on this subject.
I think it's indicative of what we see all across the state of Iowa. Lieutenant Governor talked about last weekend when we did the send off for our 60 soldiers of that are headed over to the Middle East, Afghanistan. I think we've, over my 15 years since the beginning of the war, since 9/11, that every homecoming, every send off, every memorial service, whether it's a loss of a soldier, an airman, or any service member, and to see the community flags that came out a month ago with Sergeant Morales, and to see corporations and businesses excuse their employees in order to stand on the side of the road and to show their respect. I think it's an honor. It's an honor not only to serve, but it's an honor that our communities and our civilians recognize the importance of the sacrifice of what men and women have given. And so I'm proud to say that Iowans do it, and we do it very well.
You want to comment?
Well, it was 3 years ago this morning that I received a phone call from the governor, and hence it's been a fast 3 years as the executive director of the department and the director of the cemetery. And I go to the cemetery. I do services myself on occasion. It's an honor to do that. Right now at the Iowa Veterans Cemetery, we have over 2,900 Iowa. It's a beautiful place. I invite everybody to come there. But, on Memorial Day, we'll be there at the cemetery at 8 o'clock for the annual event, come rain or shine. So we hope you all come. And it does sometimes rain, and sometimes it does shine. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll go down to Veterans Auditorium and be at the Iowa Event Center and for the 11 o'clock ceremony that we do down there. This year, at the cemetery, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and Congressman Young are going to be the honored guests, and I decided to do my own speech this year. I used to do that for a lot of other people, so I decided I'd do it for myself this year. And then at 11 o'clock, Congressman Young's going to be our speaker downtown. So, but it's an honor to serve in this capacity, to serve our veterans and to help the families through difficult times that they have.
I would also add, the white crosses at what I saw when my wife and I visited Normandy after the 2010 election. It's a very moving experience to see rows and rows of them that there are. And then last Friday night, the Lieutenant Governor and I had the honor to be in Van Meter when Bill Knapp was honored. And Bill Knapp, as you know, is a World War II veteran who survived the Battle of Okinawa. He was in the Navy at Okinawa. Special event at the American Legion posts there in Van Meter and his service. And you had some of the most influential people in central Iowa. About 300 of us were at that event and to celebrate. And of course, he was a major contributor to the Veteran Cemetery. I think most of the land, and then the other part was donated by another gentleman, Ron Kenyon. The Kenyon family contributed. So, and that is really the only active veteran cemetery that we have in the state. I think there are some veterans that are buried in Keokuk from the Civil War, but this is our active veteran cemetery. So we're proud of that, and I'm proud of the great job that Colonel King and his staff, and also all the volunteers. I was there for volunteer recognition. You got a lot of volunteers that come out and help mow the grass and help with the duties there as well. Other questions? We can take questions on other subjects as well. Yep.
As long as we've got general
Yep.
overview, and as long as you're the commander of the National Guard, we have this national debate about accommodations for transgender people. Can you tell us what the rules are in the National Guard for transgender accommodations? Do you have any people who identify as transgender? Can you tell us what the situation is for them?
Yeah, we fall under the federal laws and regulations that the Department of Defense. And as you know, right now, the Department of Defense has not come out that I'm aware of with any specific guidance or regulations. We know that we'll probably see something in the future, but until that, we have not made any accommodations in our facilities at this stage. And no, sir.
Do you have any soldiers or airmen who identify as transgender who have approached you and asked for accommodations?
Not at this point in time. We've not. No. So.
Okay. Other questions?
Go ahead, Rob.
This afternoon, yes. Yes. Well, first of all, I'm honored and pleased to be a member of the Republican Governors Association. We have, I think, 31 Republican governors now, which is I've been there when we only had 15. So we've done pretty well. We've got a lot of, there's not as many up this time as there will be in 2018. But we have some really good governors that are up for re-election, and we have some other states that we think we have a good chance to pick up, like West Virginia and Montana. So we'll see how that goes. But obviously, I want to do all I can to help my colleagues and the campaign here in 2016. Yes. We had a great event on Thursday night with Republicans at the Lincoln Day dinner, and I was encouraged by the unity and the commitment. People know there's a lot at stake. We're at risk, both in terms of our safety because of the threat from ISIS. We have an administration that won't even say Islamic extremists who are our enemies and who are threatening to kill us, and in fact, it came out in the news this morning, they're targeting more business people here in America. And it's a threat we need to take more seriously than this administration has done. We heard from a survivor of the Benghazi attack on Thursday night, the horrors of that event and the failure of the administration to respond in an appropriate and swift way. We have the national debt. We have a lot of challenges facing this country, but I have great faith and hope that we will see a rebirth of freedom, and that America's leadership can be restored with a new Republican administration. Well, I think there's a lot of people that are upset with the country's direction. They're concerned about the massive debt. You just see now, thanks to Obamacare, individual health insurance costs in Iowa are going up 40%. I understand they're going up even more in some other states. See the administration's overreach and threatening to withhold school districts. Issue bigger is that the president should be addressing, such as protecting the security of Americans and more effectively addressing the threat for lives and well-being, and the targeting of military and of law enforcement and now of business people that we see occurring from our.
Any specific threats in Iowa against military and law enforcement, business people?
Well, the lieutenant governor and I we go to the Fusion Center once a month to briefing, and a lot of these are classified. So we can't talk about the specifics, but there are threats that exist in this state as well as around the rest of the country, people and against installations. So it is something that needs to be taken seriously. That and also the crime and even things like the increase in fatalities on our roads are a concern to me. When we have 2 Des Moines police officers that die because of a driver that's under the influence. We have distracted drivers, and we have seen a trend downward in our traffic fatalities that is now going to go up. And so protecting the safety and well-being is one of the important responsibilities I have as the chief executive of the state. I appreciate the men and women that are serving us, and as the lieutenant governor mentioned, that are going as part of our total forces to protect us in overseas deployments. But we also have threats here at home that we need to be concerned about as well. Well, that is part of the Human Services Appropriations Bill. We're in the process of reviewing that. That's the biggest appropriations bill, and it'll be one of the last bills that I'll finally decide on. And there are a lot of items in that bill to be considered, and I am taking input and listening to a lot of people on that issue, and we'll make a decision. It's my goal to have all of the bills completed before Memorial Day. So, but we haven't made a decision, and we will be continuing to listen to concerns and suggestions from individual Iowans before we make a final decision on that and many other issues that are in that particular bill. Well, we've heard from all sides. The Des Moines Register's got one point of view. WHO Radio has another point of view. Talk to my doctor. He's got another point of view. I'm listening to all of them. And we're going to try to sort it all out and get as much information as we can from all sources before we make a final decision. That bill is not before me. Well, the question is, should we raise the legal age for tobacco to 21? It's not a bill that was addressed in this session of the legislature. And so, we'll wait and try to see what the sentiment is on that issue over the next several months. Whether it's something that we will address in 2017 is premature. I mean, we're focused right now on the bills that passed this General Assembly and deciding on what to sign, what to veto, what might be subject to veto or item veto. And that's where my focus is today.
Just for
Yeah.
logistics explanation, are you probably going to finish signing the bills that Friday, just before Memorial Day like you did last time?
Yes, that's my intention.
You're going to have any vetoes that you're going to raise that day?
Well, let's put it this way. I think my deadline is actually after Memorial Day. It's the Tuesday after Memorial Day, but we're going to try to get it all done before Memorial Day. Right. but well, gosh, you might write it right out of Saturday. So and it's you're going to have to wait all of Memorial Weekend to wonder what's going to happen, because we do intend to get it done by that Friday, and you know, before Memorial Day. So anyway, you're forewarned.
How about the $206 million windfall that would go to the nursing homes and hospitals? What's your thought about that? You had some, obviously had some time to do that now.
Well, that too is part of this major appropriations bill. And, you know, it's just one of the many items that there's dozens of issues in that bill that we will look at and consider. So it's my understanding it doesn't really impact the state budget. And my focus right now is primarily on the state budget, but I'm going to consider all the policy implications of all the items that are in the various appropriation bills. I can only item veto item appropriation bills.
Because the tight budget is likely that you're going to veto some things just like you did last time, line item, try to improve the budget situation.
Well, I would point out if I hadn't done what I did last year, we'd be underwater right now. Be where, so the budget is tight enough that thank God that I did veto what I did last year, because and a lot of it was one-time money for things that we looked at as ongoing expenses and things that we didn't feel were sustainable, especially in light of we're already dealing with the bird flu reduction. And fortunately, we haven't had a reoccurrence of the bird flu. And the farm situation will improve, but still the cost of production is higher than the price of corn and soybeans. I don't make a prejudgment. I'm going to, like I said, I want to also compliment the legislature. They made some tough decisions this year that weren't easy. And actually, I've based my budget based on the December revenue estimate under law and not spending more than 99% of that December revenue estimate. But when the March revenue estimate this year came out, $46.1 million below December, the legislature had to cut that much out of the budget. And they did. And we worked with them on that. And that meant, even though I had recommended 2.45% supplemental state aid, they ended up agreeing to 2.25 below what I recommended. And they had to make reductions in other areas and also, of course, implement the managed care for Medicaid, which saves over $100 million. Those things were essential, and the legislature did that. They weren't easy, and I'm sure they weren't popular with certain groups, but I want to compliment them on that. Iowa is recognized as the third best managed state in the nation because we've done that. Our neighboring state of Illinois still doesn't have a budget for this fiscal year, which began July 1. So if you win the Illinois lottery, you. So that's the difference between the way we manage things and the way they manage things.
Yeah, one thing that I just wanted to clarify, you criticized Obama for overreach on the transgender.
Right.
But as we understand it from the Department of Education, Iowa is already compliant with this mandate and there isn't an issue. Do you see any problem for Iowa students?
Well, I think it's really a decision of local schools. Local schools. So, but now you have the federal government stepping in and saying, if you don't do it our way, we're going to withhold your federal money. I think that's wrong. I mean, we want to treat everybody with respect and dignity, but we don't think the federal government ought to be coming in and threatening to withhold education money to local schools. Thank you.